crocheting queen and welcome to my channel. This is my first ever crochet tutorial, so I'm so excited to be posting this. And here we are. I started crocheting based on YouTube videos because I would just slow them down to like 0.25 to like learn all the different stitches and everything. And honestly, because I am a visual learner, that was the best way to learn crocheting for me. There's a lot of videos out there that can be very quick and like blah 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 and do this and this and this, but I'm gonna just try to come here. I'm gonna try to show you how to make a really cute sweater that I had the idea to kind of just like put together. I'm gonna like just teach you guys all the stitches, and I'm gonna try to like show all the close-ups and just do everything that was helpful for me and or that I didn't see in other crochet videos that I would have liked to see. So I hope you guys really enjoy this, and I hope you really do find it beginner friendly. I will accept constructive criticism in the comments, but you can also compliment me too, okay? I'm so excited to do this, so let's go ahead and dig in. Okay, so first thing you're gonna need, of course, is yarn. This is what we're gonna be using for our project today. I have loops and threads, which you can get at any Michael's store, RIP Joann's. This is a bulky number 5 yarn. It's a bit bulkier than normal. Most people use size 4, but if you are a true beginner, don't worry about sizes and stuff like that yet. You can just follow along with this tutorial and like kind of like let it be mindless for you. But you'll notice that as you get more into crocheting that you'll understand more about that stuff. But basically, just simply put, this is just a bit thicker yarn, and there's different sizes you can use, thinner and thicker. But for a nice fall sweater, we're going to be using this. It is soft, it's cheap, it's perfect. Next thing you'll need is something to cut your yarn with. This came in a kit of mine, but any old kitchen hair scissors, whatever, will do. Stitch markers, you will need stitch markers for this project. I again got these in a kit, but there's always alternatives that you might have in your house, and bobby pins work just as fine for stitch markers as well. You'll be needing a 5mm hook for this project, and yes, my bunnies chewed that one a little bit, okay? You'll need a measuring tape. It does not need to be a fashion one or whatever. You can literally use one that like maybe your dad has in his toolbox. And the last thing you will need is a yarn needle. Not a regular sewing needle, a yarn needle. Okay. Okay, and for the pumpkin, you will need yarn. Again, this is a weight for acrylic yarn. You can get it at your local Michael's. Again, you can get Big Twist or Loops and Thread. They're both really cheap. You also can use any color you want. I've made some like pink and purple pumpkins before as well. And you can of course make your sweater any colors you want to. Mine is gonna be specifically more fall colored, so that's why I'm like tailoring towards these. But like if you wanted to do a pink sweater with like purple pumpkins, Godspeed. You are going to need a 4mm hook because you're going to want these to be a bit tighter. You're again going to be needing a needle and something to cut your yarn. For the pumpkins, you are not going to need a lot of yarn, so even if you have like only this amount left of like 2 colors, that will be enough to make like 3 small pumpkins. So now that we've gone over our supplies very thoroughly, shall we get into it? Okay, so go ahead and get your measuring tape, and there are 2 ways you can do the measuring. You can measure your actual body, or you can measure a sweater or sweatshirt that you really like to make it the exact length that you want. Okay, I wore this yesterday, so ignore the rabbit fur and powdered sugar, but we're gonna be measuring this one because I really like the way this one fits. We're gonna be measuring length, width, and height. We're gonna be measuring not including the ribbing because we are going to make the ribbing ourselves. You don't wanna make it too long, unless if you do wanna make it really long, you're welcome to do that, but we're just gonna lay this flat and we're gonna measure it. Okay, so just bring out your notes app or a piece of paper or something so that you can just write this all down. And first we're gonna just measure collar to collar in inches. I do remember that this sweatshirt feels a little bit too long for me. Like I would prefer it to be a little bit more cropped. I am just gonna cut off a couple inches off the sweater to make my sweater a bit more cropped. So right now it's sitting at about 21 inches from collar to ribbing, and so I'm gonna make it, I think, more like 16 inches. So I'm gonna write down 16 inches from collar to ribbing. Okay, and then we're gonna do the width of the front panel. Again, I think I got this when I was a bit bigger, so I think I'm gonna take like an inch or 2 off again, because this is sitting at about 21 inches, but I think 19 would feel, or maybe just 20. I'll cut off like 1 inch. Do 20 inches for that. And then we're gonna do the sleeves. Figure out how long we wanna make the sleeves. Again, stop before the ribbing, we're gonna make ribbing. Alright, that's standing at about 19 inches. I will say again, I have like pretty short arms, so like You can make it like as long or shorter if you like. If you're measuring a sweater and you're like, I really love the sweater, I just wish it was a little bit shorter, just kind of how I was, you can just adjust it as much as you want. I'm standing at collar to ribbing 16 inches with the front panel 20 inches and the sleeves 15 inches. I usually wear for my sweatshirts like a size large to extra large because that's what makes me feel comfortable. So if you just want to copy exactly what I'm doing to make like a size large, I made another sweater like this before. But I made it more kind of like summery, and so I can insert that as well so you can kind of see what this looks like on like different colors and like a different thing on the front or whatever. But let's get started on this now. So let's go ahead and get our yarn that is going to be used for our front panel, and we are getting our 5mm hook. You're going to take the end piece of your yarn and you're going to drape it over your hands like this. Oh, also I am left-handed. I know some people say you can't crochet if you're left-handed, but you can, okay? But flip it if you're righty. You're going to drape it over your 3 fingers like this, and you're going to hold it with your thumb. You're going to then pull it over and across your fingers, making an X right here. So we'll do that again. Draping it over the 3 fingers, holding that with our thumb, pulling that over and making an X. And then we're going to hold that. Now we have our X right here. We turn and we are going to go underneath with our hook, pull this thread through, and like so. It's going to look like this, and then you're just going to pull the end of your yarn. This is called a slip stitch, and that is called a slip knot. It's what you're gonna start like all your projects with. I'm gonna do it one more time so you guys can just see it. Draping, pulling over, making an X, going under, pulling through, moving our fingers and pulling it. Slip knot. Now with our slip knot, make sure that's nice and snug, we are going to chain the length of the front panel. So you can go back to your notes, and the width of my front panel was 20 inches. I'm going to want to chain enough for 20 inches. And here's the thing too, we're gonna count our chains just so that when we make our second panel, it will be the exact same. And let me show you guys something too. I just wanted to give you guys a visual. So we're gonna be making 2 front panels that look like this, and then we're gonna make 2 bottom ribbings, top ribbings, and 2 sleeves with bottom ribbings. So we're essentially making 4 main pieces and then adding the ribbing. Let's do our 20 inches. That's what she said. Sorry. I'm gonna lay this out. Okay, and I'm going to count all my chains. So we have our slip knot with our little tail hanging down here. Don't do anything with the tail, just leave it. We'll come back to that later. But to make a chain, you're gonna take your yarn with your other hand, you're going to yarn over, I'm gonna say those words a lot, you're going to yarn over, and with your hook, just pull through. And that is literally a chain. That's 1 chain. So you can yarn over, pull through again. That's 2 chains. Yarn over, pull through the loop, 3 chains, yarn over, pull through the loop, 4 chains. It will start to literally look like chains. And you can count them now too very easily because they each make a V. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. We can do it one more time. I just really want to hammer this in for you guys so it makes sense and it's easy, because it really is easy. It just can be a little difficult to first learn. But we're going to yarn over, pull through, 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through the loop, 4. Okay, so we're going to do that for me till we reach 20 inches, and I'm going to count exactly how many chains that is so I know exactly what I have to do when we start in the second panel. We don't have to worry about the second panel right now, but you just want to know what you're in for. I forgot to mention, but it should be an even number, but it will make it a lot easier for the ribbing if it is an even number. So if you want yours to be a little bit extra longer, a little bit extra shorter, like for instance if you're at 75 you can make it 74 or 76, but my 20 inches ended up being 74 chains, so that is how much I'm going to do for both of my front panels. Now we're going to work into those chains. You also do not want your tension to be too tight. I probably wrote a note about that already because I want to get you guys before you do your chains. You always are working into your beginning chain, so if you make them too tight it's going to be like really difficult. So just make sure you're not like pulling it super tight after each chain. Just give it some leeway, but not too loose. Just give it some leeway. So okay, now we're going to work into that. So for this project, we are going to be doing double crochets. So I will show you guys exactly what a double crochet is. So what we are going to do is we're going to chain 2 more. 1, 2. And you can put your finger where you chained 2 from, so you know exactly where to work into. But as you can see, I chained 74 and now I chained 2 more. Okay, so now we've chained 2. And we're gonna yarn over and we're going to go 2 down from the 2 we just made. So you see the top of that, there's a V. And you are going to work into the top of each chain from all these chains you made. So we are yarning over, we're doing double crochets, we're going into the top of that chain. Do you see how we picked that up? We're gonna yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And that is a double crochet. Sorry if it went out of focus. I'm really trying. I'm a one-woman show here. Now we're just gonna go into the next chain all the way down. But I'm gonna show you guys a couple more times so you can really like hammer it in. Now we have the chain in front of us. So we just worked into that chain, so we're not gonna touch that. We're gonna work into the next one. So you're going to yarn over, pull it over your hook like so. You're gonna go into the top of it. See how that looks, the top of the chain. We're gonna yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Again, we're gonna work into the next top of our chain. We're gonna yarn over, go in to the top of our chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So now you can see that we're starting to build upwards on our front panel. So we're gonna just do this all the way down, and I will come back to you guys and show you guys what to do at the end. We're coming up on our end, so I'm just gonna finish that part with you guys. Also, it's okay if it twists a little, don't worry about it. We have 2 stitches left here. So you are going to yarn over, go in your last 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the very last stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I keep moving my hands up. We have done our double crochet in our last stitch. Now we are going to chain 2, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and we're going to turn our work. So I'm pulling it this way, and now I'm gonna work from here down this way, right? So you will always turn your work once you get to the end of each row. So we have chained 2, and now we're going to work into these. As you're gonna see with these stitches, it is again V's. We're always working into chains. Do you see that? How it's just V's all the way down? That's what we're gonna be working into. And now, as you pull it apart, you can see all the stitches you just did. We have chained 2, and now we're gonna yarn over, and we're just continuing to do double crochets all the way down. We're gonna do double crochets for the front panels and the sleeves for the whole thing. So as soon as you know like double crochets and you know how to turn your work, you're cooking with gas. We yarned over, and now we are going to work into the very first V right here. So you don't want to work into the chain 2. You want to work into the first V. So we yarned over. We're gonna put it in. It might be a little uncomfortable, but you'll get the hang of it. We're gonna yarn over, and now we're pulling through the V. So we're technically pulling through 2 like yarn thingies or whatever, but we're gonna yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And boom, 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 we're cooking with gas. So now we have our next V right here. So we're gonna yarn over, go into 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You guys getting the gist? We're just yarning over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. All right, yarn over, go into the V, pull, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm gonna do this one really slow, just to hammer it in one last time. We have our V right here that we're working into, our next V, because we just worked into this one. So we're gonna yarn over, we're gonna go into the V. You know what, I'm going to zoom, mega zoom, because I really wanna show you guys what I'm doing and really want you guys to get it. So we have our next V right here. Both my fingers are right around it. We're gonna yarn over and we're gonna go into that V. You see that? Then we're gonna yarn over and we're gonna pull through the V. We're gonna yarn over, we're gonna pull through 2. Sorry. And then we're gonna yarn over, pull through 2. You see our next V here? Same thing. We're gonna yarn over, we're gonna puncture that V. We're gonna yarn over and we're gonna pull through 2 and we're gonna pull through 2. Whoops. And we're gonna pull, yarn over, pull through 2. Did I hammer that into your brain? I'm glad. I'm glad. We are going to just work all the way down into all the V's, double crochets. And then when we get to the end, we're gonna chain 2, turn our work in. Same thing. Each row, same thing. And now we have the width of our sweater and how long we want it to be. But now we have to work up. I'm gonna work in as many rows as it takes me to get to 16 inches because that's my collar to ribbing measurements. So if you want to, you can count all your rows just so that you're so exact for both of them. I'm kind of at the point where I can just like look at both of my panels and I know how exactly how like long I need to make it. I actually do think for your guys' sake, I will just count all my rows so I can tell you exactly how many rows I'm making and exactly how many chains for both of my front panels, just because that stuff was so helpful to me when I started crocheting, because I was like, I need to know exactly how many I'm making. Otherwise it's very hard like in the beginning to count a lot of stitches and stuff like that. So if you need to remember how to turn rows or how to do a double crochet, obviously I try to go through it a couple times, but of course you can rewatch it, you can slow it down, whatever you need to do. And I will see you guys back when I have my 16 inches. As you can see, I'm making some progress on it, but I just ended one of my yarn balls and I want to show you how I add in my other yarn, and or you could totally do this for a color switch as well. And I'm going to take the end of my other yarn and I'm going to tie it. I like to tie mine, I'm going to give it a couple knots because it just really solidifies me that it's not going to go anywhere, that's not going to fall apart, and it makes me feel better about it. Now, there's 2 ways you can go about this. You can cut it and like pull the ends tighter so you know it stays. This can create kind of like balls and make your project look less smooth, or you can weave in the ends of your tied ends. So I think what I'm gonna do for this one is I don't feel like weaving in the end, so I think I am gonna cut it. I'm just gonna take my scissors. I'm gonna cut it fairly close. And I'm just going to take the ends and I'm going to just kind of separate it and pull a bit, just so that I feel a bit better about it. And then you continue crocheting as normal. And you can do whatever feels right to you. This is just what I want to do. And see, the thing about this too is if this is right here, you can see a little bit ball. I mean, this is right here too. Once I'm done, I'm gonna make sure I sew it in a way where it goes this way and you can't see it at all. See, on the other side you can't see it at all. So it's not gonna be a problem. So that's the way I do it. And then you can just keep going as normal. Okay, it's now a length at which I'm comfortable with. Sorry if there's some noise in the background, I'm doing some laundry, but I'm now at a length that I feel comfortable with it. And what's really nice about this, and what's really nice about the color changing yarn is that it makes it really easy to count your rows as a beginner. So like for instance, this is a row right here, this is a row right here, this is a row right here. And so you can literally just go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have done 24 rows in total, so that is exactly how many I will do for my other panel, and same for the chains on the bottom, so that it will be exactly the same. But now we still have our yarn attached. We are going to go ahead and do the neckline. Okay, so go ahead and grab 2 stitch markers, and I'm gonna just pull up my loop a little bit here so my project doesn't come undone. And I'm going to hold this up to me, like up to my collarbone-ish area, neckish area, and I'm going to mark where I want the scoop to go in. And you're gonna wanna do the same amount on each side. I'm thinking right around here is where I want it to be. So I'm gonna just go ahead and mark that stitch. For marking a stitch, you just put it in the V/the chain in which you want it to be in. And then I'm gonna put my stitch marker on the same spot on the other side. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're just gonna mark 23 on this side. 1, 2, 3. All right, now just hold it up to yourself. Make sure you like where it is. I'm gonna have to look in a mirror in a second. And also meet both the ends and fold it in half, so that you can see that both chains are lining up and that it is fully even. So we're essentially doing exactly this, and that we're building a scoop for the neckline, in that we're doing decreases. So we're gonna do this for, I wanna say 3 rows. I will come back. I put my hook back in my loop, and we're gonna chain 2, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and we are going to turn our work. And then we're going to chain like normal, up until 1 before our stitch marker. So I'll meet you back here once I've done that. Okay, so now we have 1 chain left before our decrease, so let's just remove our stitch marker. Now what we are going to do is our decrease, so we are going to yarn over, and then we're going to go into this stitch, the next stitch, and then we're going to yarn over again, and then go into the next stitch. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through the first stitch. That part's always a little difficult. You're gonna yarn over, you're gonna pull through 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you're gonna yarn over and you're gonna pull through 3 again. It's not necessarily the smoothest thing, but it is simple, and that's just how you do the decrease. So now we're going to chain 2. Oh, and I'm going to write down that we finished row 1 of our decrease. So we have 1 row done. I'm going to chain 2, turn our work, and then we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go into the first stitch, and we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch again. And then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, pull through the first chain, just like we last did. Yarn over, pull through the first chain. And now we're going to yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 3. So it's the same thing we just did. So now we just did both of our decreases. We're going to go to the end of the row, and then we're just going to chain 2, turn back like normal. And once we get to this spot where we do our decreases, that's where you do all your decreases. But this, you just keep this normal because you want to keep a straight line on this side. Does that make sense? So I'm going to just chain like normal all the way down to the other side of the row. Okay, I've reached the end. And now I'm going to write down that I've done 2 rows of decreases. I can tell based on how this is going that I'm going to do 4 full rows of decreasing. I'm going to do 4 rows of decrease on this side, and then I'm going to do 4 on this side, and then I will be done. And I'm going to show you guys how I attach my yarn for this one, and then I will come back to you once I'm done after I show you guys that part. Okay, so I did my 5 rows here of decreases, and I'm just going to cut my yarn, and then I'm going to chain 1 and just pull it through. And then that's the knot for that. That's what it looks like. And I'm gonna go to the other side, and we're gonna do the same thing. But I'll show you how I attach my yarn. So I'm gonna go into the very last stitch. Actually, there is multiple ways to do this. You can tie it right on, or you can do a slip stitch and just like connect it. I'm gonna be tying mine on, so I'm pulling my yarn over, and then I'm pulling it through, and I'm gonna double knot it. I just really don't like the idea of doing a project and it ever would come undone. All right, so now I'm putting my hook through, and I'm yarning over, and I'm pulling it through. And that's how I attach my yarn. And now I'm going to chain 2, turn my work, and I'm gonna work into all the stitches up until the stitch before my stitch marker, and we're gonna do the exact same thing that we did on this side. And I'll see you guys when I'm done with that. So this is what the top is looking like now, and as you can see, it is a scoop. We did 5 rows of the decrease, and it's about 3.5 inches. So now we're going to work on our ribbing, and I got my ribbing color. This color is called Pumpkin, so perfect for what we're doing today. And I think this one's called Autumn too, so Pumpkin and Autumn. I think this is Autumn Harvest and this is Pumpkin, so I just love a good name, don't you? So this is originally where we made our slip knot and started the entire project, and also the bottom of the front panel of our top. And I'm gonna use this string to connect my ribbing string. And you guys are already seasoned veterans at this point. I've told you how to add yarn, and honestly there's multiple ways to do it. There's multiple ways to leave in ends. You'll find out what you like and don't like as you go, but this is how I've done it and works for mommy. I'm going to go into the end stitch. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to chain 8. And you want to make sure you're not pulling too hard because you're going to want to work into all these stitches. And this is where it comes in handy to chain an even amount, because we're going to be slip stitching into each 2 chains. And I'll explain more of that as we go. But right now we're going to chain 8. 1, 2. I'm going to turn this sideways so it's a bit easier to work on. But now we've chained 8, and now we're going to work a single crochet into each of these stitches. So a single crochet, we're going to skip the first one. You go into the top of your chain, you yarn over, you pull through, and then you have 2 on your hook, and you're going to yarn over and pull through the 2. Very simple. I'm going to do that again a couple more times so you guys understand a single crochet. We're going to go into our loop, the top half of our chain. We're going to yarn over, we're going to pull through, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through the 2 loops. One more time, I'll show you guys. We're going to go into the top of the chain here. We're going to yarn over, pull through, then we're going to yarn over and pull through 2. And now we have 3 single crochets, and you're just going to work all the way down. Alright, now we've made it all the way down, and you can see your stitches right here. Each time you reach the bottom, you're going to skip and go into the next stitch. You're going to slip stitch into the bottom. So right here, we worked on that first stitch, we're going to go into here. And a slip stitch is just going directly in, the easiest stitch. You yarn over and you pull through both. It's as simple as that. It's essentially almost like sewing something, but it's just putting it together. See how it's together now? And it's connected to the bottom? Okay, so now we're going to chain 1, turn our work. We're going to single crochet now into the back stitch of each chain. And this is going to create a ribbing effect by going back and forth only in the back chain. So let me zoom in and show you guys. See how it makes the V, the chain? We're going to be going into only the back half of the stitch. So you've chained 1 and we're doing single crochets. So I'm going to go into the first stitch right here. I'm going to yarn over, pull through the top one. Oop, I accidentally went through both of them. It's fine, you can just always frog it if you mess up and then just go back and fix it. Okay, so now we're going to go into the first stitch, the back end of the first stitch. We're going to yarn over, doing single crochets, pull through the first loop, and then yarn over and pull through both loops. Same thing. So again, we're going into the back part of the V, the back part of the stitch, the back part of the chain, and just doing single crochets. Okay, and once you get to your last stitch, chain 1, turn your work. We're working back down, single crochets. And now that we've reached our last stitch, we're just going to count 1, 2, and we're going to slip stitch into the second one. So 1, 2, go right in, yarn over, pull through both. And so now you see The ribbing effect is already starting to take form, and we're also just stitching it right onto the bottom. And so it is literally just the exact same thing all the way down. Of every 2 stitches, you slip stitch the more ribbing that you've made, and for your ribbing, just working into the back of each chain and only doing single crochets. Turning your work, single crochets, skip 2 stitches, slip stitch. And so I'm gonna do this here all the way down. I'm gonna cut my work and I'll come back to you guys. Okay, I got sick, so this has been like all I've been working on lately. But we have our front and back panel done now. So now we're gonna do a little bit of sewing. So for sewing, we're gonna sew it inside out so that when we are done, we can turn it inside out again. So I'm just gonna make sure that I have it on the side where, yeah, see, where I have my little ties, because I want these to be on the inside. Honestly, you still can't even really notice them, but just from a perfectionist standpoint, I'm going to sew it with that on the outside. What we are going to do is we're gonna get our sewing needle, and honestly, you can kind of use whatever kind of yarn you want, but I kind of thought like this deep purple would kind of like mix well with all these colors, kind of going with the dark fall. So I'm gonna be sewing with this deep purple. I also got this from Michael's. I think it was, this is Loops and Threads. It was like $3.99. So you don't need that long of string for this one, so just cut it wherever. And if you need longer, you can always fix your mistakes. Or tie on more, I suppose. But now I'm just gonna put that into, I'm gonna put the thread through my needle, and I'm just gonna tie it a couple times so it stays put. I'm sure this is kind of self-explanatory, but I still want to explain it just in case. We're lining this up right here on both sides, and you see how it lines up just like that. Perfect, yummy, delicious. We're just gonna go through all of our stitches and just sew it together. But I'm putting it through these two, and I'm honestly gonna attach my yarn to the end of this, and then I'll weave in my ends later. Which, by the way, weaving in your ends is really simple. I've seen people use a needle. I just use my crochet hook. You can obviously use your 5mm, but like for this, for instance, you can literally just go through and like pull it through a couple times until it's kind of like non-existent. And weaving in ends is literally like as simple as that. You can also cut them, but this close to the edge, I don't think I would. But anyways, weaving in ends, many different ways you can do things and be comfortable, but I'm just gonna pull this through, and that's the first stitch. Going through the second stitch. You could probably count them if you wanted to as well. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna line it up because it's pretty easy to see visually. I'm also gonna kind of like, honestly, just tie my ends in with the sewing so that they kind of don't become a problem, if that makes sense. Yeah, and you just do this all the way, you're gonna just do this until the end of this on both sides. We're just sewing the top part's right here, because here, this opening is where we're gonna be crocheting our collar, and then the sides are where we're gonna be adding our sleeves. So you only, like, seriously make sure you are only sewing together these pieces right here. Honestly, this whole project is fairly simple, but it can just be tedious to do certain things. So now, I've taken my ribbing color, and I've attached my yarn to the neckline. And we are going to do the same thing that we did for this, essentially, just slightly different. Because we're going to skip a stitch for this one, because you want, for the neckline ribbing, you kind of want it to cinch a little bit to go inwards. So we're going to skip a stitch for this one, but essentially we're doing the exact same thing. You could make it smaller or thicker depending on if you wanted like your ribbings to be different, but so we're going to chain 8, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work in our single crochets. So in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. I suppose too, if you forgot, you could go back to the original ribbing tutorial that I gave for the bottom half. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna slip stitch the next stitch And then we're gonna go into the next stitch and we're gonna slip stitch into that. And now we're gonna chain 1, and same thing as before, we're just gonna work into the back of each side. You are just gonna do that exact thing around the entire neckline. Slip stitching in the next stitch, and then slip stitching in the stitch after that, chaining 1, turning your work, doing the exact same thing for the ribbing. For the neckline, the stitches can look a little awkward on where we did the decreases. So honestly, just do your best bet and just try to be consistent with your spacing. Sometimes crocheting, you do have to guess a little bit. But once you get to these parts, you can very easily see where it is. But yeah, these parts can be a little confusing, but I'm just gonna chain 1 and I'm gonna continue to do the same thing, and then you'll see how it starts to make a ribbing that is cinched and it looks really beautiful and nice. Okay, so now I've reached my last chain for the collar, and I'm just gonna slip stitch again into the bottom right next to where the beginning of my first one was. And now I'm just going to line up these stitches from the front where I started in the back, and I'm just gonna slip stitch all the way up, lining up the stitches. You could potentially sew it too, but I don't really see the point when you already have it connected to your hook. But I just want to give you guys like several options with everything you do, so that you know, like, hey, if I really prefer sewing, I can do sewing, or like, you know, everybody has their preferences, so making sure it's nice and tight. Alright, I'm done with that, so I'm just going to cut my yarn and chain 1 and pull the yarn through as usual, and then we can weave in that end. Honestly, I'm just gonna tie it to this other, since it's where I started, I'm actually going to tie my end to where the other end from where I started it was, and then I'm not gonna really worry about weaving it in. Actually, you can see the collar now. For the sleeves now, you kind of just want to get your stitch markers. I'm using a bobby pin instead of stitch marker just because stitch markers can be very flimsy and break easily. But if I close this together and I maybe feel and give, obviously you don't go right under your arm because that would be too tight, but like a little down, a little bit more leeway, and you want to line up your stitches, and you can kind of mark where you want your sleeves, and then you're obviously going to line up the stitches on both sides. So right now this is kind of feeling good for me, but let me check the mirror, and then I'm just going to line it up on the other side. And then once you do that, try it on again and make sure that it's right, because once you have both your stitch markers on, you'll really know if it's what you want or not. I literally count my rows so I know exactly how many. One of my bobby pins is low-key being slutty and just slipping right out. Okay, I think I'm feeling pretty good about this. It's about halfway down, halfway up my sleeves, because obviously this is like a slightly cropped sweater because it's not like super long. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna get back our measuring tape. We're gonna measure this. And we're gonna measure from the top right here all the way down to where we marked where our sleeves are gonna be. So I have that at like exactly about 10 inches. And so what you're gonna do is double that. So hold on. I'm gonna write it down first just to keep a note of everything. Chain to fit 20 inches. Because like the sleeve needs to go all the way around when we sew it on. So if half of it is 10 inches, then the full sleeve is 20 inches. We need to chain enough to reach 20 inches right here. And so I'm going to chain enough to reach 20 inches. And then we're going to do the same thing we did for the front panel, just working double crochets in until as long as you want it to be, and you can measure it as you go. And I will like show you guys how I'm doing that too, so like you just get a feel for it. I'm going to chain enough to reach 20, but I'm going to count my chains too, so that I can make these sleeves exact. So for instance, how I chained 74 for the front panel and also 74 for the back, same thing for the sleeves. We want our sleeves to be exactly the same. I'll let you know how much that ends up being, and then I'm gonna start building upwards. And we also measured for our sleeves. I measured 15 inches for my sleeves. And so this is 15 inches, so this is about how long I would be making it if I kept it at 15 inches. Okay, so I finished my sleeves. I chained 68 and I did 27 rows. So when I lay it on, it ends right about here, and our cuff is gonna be about that big, so it's gonna end just like an inch before my wrist, which is kind of what I want. Those are our sleeves. Now we're gonna work on the ribbing for our sleeves, and we are doing it separate this time because we have to cinch it so much, it's just kind of easier that way. So let's go to it. Okay, so for this ribbing, we're just gonna chain one more. So we've been chaining 8, and I'm gonna chain 9. Essentially, we're gonna be doing the exact same thing we did for the last ribbing, right? But we're just doing it long enough so it fits over the cuff of our arm. I would give yourself maybe just like a little bit of extra leeway too, like maybe a little bit loose, but do whatever is comfortable for you. I can let you guys know how many rows I do if you wanna like I said, follow me exactly. But it's the same thing. We're chaining 9 single crochets, working in the back of the loops. 7, 8, 9. Okay, so here I have my sleeve. This is my ribbing, and as you can see, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 little divots, and each of that is like 2 chains. So we did essentially 22. See, it's weird to say rows kind of, because like it feels like one of these counts as a row, but so I did 22 rows then, I believe. And now we're going to connect this to this. We're still going to keep it connected to its chain, but I'm laying it up right here for a second because I want to see something. So it's right about here. I'm going to mark it here. Okay, so there's a little bit extra. So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to connect it to the very end, and we're going to line up our stitches. I'm keeping this pretty tight, and I'm going to skip and slip stitch into every 3rd stitch, because you saw that it was a little bit more than 2 lengths of this, the whole sleeve. So we're gonna skip every 3 stitches, and that's gonna give it its super cinched look for the sleeves, because you see how the cuffs goes like this and then it billows out. That will give us that effect. And so you guys kind of already know the gist with ribbing and how to slip stitch, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do this for both, and then I'll come back to you guys. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So you're supposed to sew these inside out as well, and I did the wrong way for one of them, but literally what I did is I just pulled the ties through to the other side so that it would look nice again. Because you know, everybody makes mistakes, and like when you're doing this many stitches and this many things, mistakes do happen. So okay, so now for the sleeves, we're just going to fold it inside out. We're going to line up our stitches, and then we're going to sew this. And you know how we've been sewing things, I've taught you lots about that, so you're probably a pro by now. Once we're done with our sleeve sewing it, we are going to take our body panel and we're going to sew the sleeves on, right? So I have where I marked it right here. So once we're done sewing our sleeve together, we're gonna turn it right side out, and we are going to sew it to the body panel. Now this is inside out, right? So, but we're putting this in right side in because we're filtering it through here to line up our stitches and sew them on. Do you see how that works? So we're sewing this like this, and if I pulled this out, it would be inside out. So does that make sense? So we're sewing that like that, and our sleeves just inside out, and once you have that, the whole body will be together, and I'll come back and tell you guys what the next step. And of course, once you finish the sleeve, you're just gonna go ahead and finish off and do the sides of the sweater. Pretty self-explanatory, but I'm still gonna explain it just because I want you guys to know all of it. And now we're gonna try on our sweater, but it looks so good. You're gonna wanna be gentle with your pieces because you don't wanna break nothing. So now I'm trying on my piece to know what I want differently. What that process is called is blocking, but it's washing. So we're gonna wash the piece now. but it's called blocking in the crochet community. And what that is essentially you're making the fabric more billowy, more like movable, because it's like right now like it's very stiff. And then you can, because acrylic yarn is so easy to manipulate, then you can manipulate anything you want to do. So if you crochet this sweater and you're like, I want the sleeves more billowy, or I want the sleeves longer, or I want the sleeves shorter, like anything you want to manipulate, you literally can. Crocheting is so amazing and I love it. But let me see. Okay, so I think for myself, I think I want a little bit more shape. I want this to go a bit more inwards, kind of like a cropped, like billowy top. I might just stretch out the sleeves just a little bit more, or like the cuffs right here. But honestly, I'm pretty happy with it. So let's wash it, and then once it's done drying after being washed, that's when we'll sew everything on. But I'll show you how to block it, and then I'm going to show you how to make the pumpkins for it. So let's go ahead and do that. Two things I use for blocking. These are some scent beads, and of course you don't need to fill it up all the way because you're not doing like a whole load. But I really like this because it keeps it smelling fresh for long periods of time, because I don't like to wash my projects very frequently because you're not supposed to put them in the dryer, and air drying takes usually around 3 days. And then a little bit of detergent. Yes, I keep it in a plastic martini glass. And so what I do is I just take these things, I put like a little bit of lukewarm water in my tub, and I put these both in there. Then we're gonna put our piece in, and we're just gonna kind of move it around, like let it like soak up, wash it a little bit. And then I'm going to take a towel, a clean towel, I'm gonna lay it over it, and I'm just going to softly squish out, like I like softly step on it and squish out the liquid to try to get it all out. You don't want to be really rough with it because you're just gonna like, you could potentially ruin it. You always want to be gentle with your pieces. But we're gonna wash it, and then I'm gonna show you guys how I'm manipulating it, and then we'll do the pumpkins, and then I'm gonna say goodbye to you guys. Okay, so I've laid a clean blanket down on a flat surface, and now I'm just going to manipulate it however I want it to. But you're gonna want to make sure the project is laying flat, not scrunched up, just however you want it to be. Manipulate it to look like that. And now, like every couple of hours, I'll switch sides so each side has time to dry, and just making sure I'm manipulating it the same way I want it both times. And also, if you can air dry it outside, I prefer that so much more. I think the natural sun is so much better. It dries faster. But I'm starting to get into rainy fall season, as this is a fall sweater. So inside is what I am gotta do right now. So we are going to do our pumpkins now, and I'm going to start with the big one, and then we're going to do the small ones. But I have all my little stuff here, and I have my yarn that is smaller, like I said, size 4, and then I have my 4mm hook. That's a good way to remember it for the pumpkin, is 4 and 4. Yeah. What we're going to do for this, get our orange yarn. I have the end of my brown ready. My poop. We are going to make a slip stitch, but we're not going to close it. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean, because that's what a magic ring is. So we're making a magic ring. If you already know what that is, good. You're so good. And I'm going to put all the stuff on screen as I do it, because I feel like if you already know how to crochet, that'll just make it so much quicker. My goal here is to teach you guys everything. Let's do a magic ring, which is basically a slip stitch, but not closed. Normal wrap around. And making the X, we're going to go under, go on top and pull through just like a slip stitch, and then we're going to leave this hole here. Do not touch the hole, and then we're going to chain 1 while maintaining its form. See? As simple as that. That's a magic ring. I'll do it one more time to just really show you guys. I can zoom in even more too. Magic ring madness. All right, we're gonna basically do a slip knot. Did I say slip stitch? I always say slip stitch, slip knot. One under, pulling, maintaining shape, taking this, chaining 1. Right there, we have a magic ring. And so now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna move my little excess string all the way. Do not crochet this hanging string into it, because you're gonna need it. So just ignore it. Pretend it's not there. Pretend it's not there. So now we've chained 1. Now what we're going to do is chain 2 more. Chain 1, 2, 3. This counts as our first double crochet. And then what we're going to do is make 11 double crochets. So technically it's 12, but what we just did made our first. So I'm gonna put 11 double crochets into the ring, and you're just gonna work like normal. The one stitch that we will be using today that you guys haven't learned is a half double crochet, so I'll eventually teach you guys that. We've done 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're just gonna pull our string so that it's tight to tighten. So then it's gonna kind of look like this. We're gonna come back in, and then we're gonna slip stitch in the first stitch. I actually messed up because you're supposed to slip stitch first and then pull your yarn, but it's fine. I'm just gonna pull it again anyways. So you slip stitch to kind of close the gap. You know what I mean? Now we've slip stitched, we have our little circle, and then we are going to chain 1. Then in the next stitch, we're gonna make 2 single crochets, and I've taught you guys this. So I'm going into this stitch, 1 single crochet, and I am going to mark the very start of that single crochet with a stitch marker, okay? And then I'm gonna do my second single crochet, and then I'm going to, and then in the next stitch, I'm gonna do 2 single crochets again. So we're doing 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. Because what's happening, okay, and I'm gonna mark the end of the single crochet for this one too real quick. But what's happening here is you are essentially building the shape of a pumpkin. So single crochets are smaller stitches, right? Half double crochets are bigger, double crochets are bigger, triple crochets bigger, and so on and so forth. We are trying to make it go bigger on the sides, smaller in the middle. So we have single crochets and then we have double crochets for this one. These we just marked are our single crochets. So we marked our single crochets, and now in the next 4 stitches we're gonna do 2 double crochets in each stitch. So for this next stitch, 2 double crochets in the same stitch, and the same thing for the next 4, or the next 3 I guess now. And then in the next 2 stitches we're gonna do 2 single crochets again, and we're gonna mark them again. So I'm gonna do my first single crochet, my thumb right there, and I'm gonna mark it. All right, next single crochet, 2 in the next stitch again, and then I'm gonna mark it. Then in the remaining 4 stitches we're gonna do 2 double crochets again in each stitch. So this is what it's looking like right now. Now I'm gonna slip stitch into a little remaining space right here. I'm gonna pull, and then I'm gonna chain 1. And now for the next round, we are essentially doing the same thing, and this is why it's nice that we marked our stitches. So we're doing single crochets in the single crochet area and double crochets in the double crochet area. And we are doing 2 in each again. So now I'm just gonna do single crochets. All right, I'm gonna take this off. We're gonna do 2 single crochets in each stitch. But we're doing 2 single crochets in each of the stitches where we marked. Right, and now I'm removing this. I'm removing my stitch markers, and I'm gonna do my last double single crochet in this stitch. And then from here up until our next little area, we're doing double crochets. So we're doing 2 double crochets per stitch in these. Again, just we're building the shape of a pumpkin, right? And same thing with the single crochets, and then we're gonna do the double crochets again. You guys get the point. Okay, and now that we're done with that, we're just gonna slip stitch into the first stitch. And we're gonna cut our yarn. And then I'm just gonna pull this through. We have made a nice little pumpkin looking shape, and we are going to add our stem. So for the stem, you're just going to try to find the center stitch, and then you're going to insert your hook 1 stitch before the center. Let me slip knot first. Enter it in before the center. Okay, so now we're going to single crochet. We're going to single crochet in the center and then 1 more after. So we're just doing 3 single crochets to kind of make a base. Now we're going to chain 1. And we're going to turn, and then I'm going to essentially decrease here. So I'm going to go into the first stitch, I'm going to pull through, I'm going to pull up a loop, and then I'm going to go into the second stitch, I'm going to pull up, and then I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch with just a single crochet. And now I'm going to cut this yarn, and we made a little stemmy stem. There's lots of different ways to make stems. So if you don't like the little like small stumpy curve, there's so many different ways you can do it. And then you can weave in your ends, but essentially that's it. You've created like the bigger pumpkin. I'm gonna do it a couple times because like
I just like to make sure that all my stitches look perfect. So like as you see, you start with the magic ring and then you build off of it, and the sides are bigger, but it goes in the middle. And that's what's so nice about it. Okay, now we're gonna do the smaller one. Okay, so here's a smaller pumpkin. We're gonna make our magic ring again. Like I said, it's gonna be pretty similar in that we're gonna build up and build down, right? And then you're gonna chain one. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work 10 half double crochets into this. So I haven't taught you guys half double crochets, but they're very simple. You essentially just yarn over, go through, then you yarn over again, you pull up a loop. And so for a double crochet, right, you would yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, like we were. But since it's a half double crochet, we're just going to yarn over and pull through all three. And that is one half double crochet. So let's go through it again for you guys, just so you really can understand it. I'll do it 2 more times. We're gonna yarn over, go through, yarn over again, pull up a loop. Then we have 3 right on here, and instead of going into a double crochet, right, again, you're just gonna yarn over and pull through all 3. So essentially for a half double crochet, we did 2 half double crochets right there, but for a half double crochet, you're basically prepping to do a double crochet and then just quitting early. So for a double crochet, I would be getting ready and but instead, no, I'm gonna yarn over and I'm gonna pull through all 3. So now we've done 3 half double crochets, I just need to do 7 more. Okay, you're gonna pull your yarn now. You're gonna slip stitch into the first half double crochet. So now for this one, we're only doing 1 row, not 2. We just slip stitch in the first half double crochet, and now we're gonna single crochet in the same stitch. I'm just gonna go right in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Okay. Then in the second stitch, we're gonna do a half double crochet and then a double crochet. So yarn over, we're gonna go into the stitch. We're gonna pull up a loop and then, we're gonna pull through all 3. We're prepping to do a double crochet, but we did not. But now we're gonna go into the same stitch and we are gonna commit to the double crochet. And we're gonna yarn over, and we're doing a double crochet. Okay, now in the next stitch, we are gonna do 2 double crochets. And the stitch after that, 2 double crochets. So the 3rd and 4th stitch, we do 2 double crochets in each stitch. Now in our 5th stitch, we're gonna do a double crochet and then a half double crochet. Again, we're building up and building down to make the shape of a pumpkin. So then in the 6th stitch, we're gonna do 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And in the 7th stitch, we're gonna do a half double crochet and then a double crochet. Okay, and then in the 8th and 9th stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets in both stitches. Okay, now the stem for this one is a little bit different. So in the 10th and last stitch, we're going to double crochet. And then we're going to do a half double crochet, but we're going to switch colors while we're doing our half double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the same stitch, pull up a loop, and now I have three left on my hook, and so I'm going to just put the other yarn behind it. I'm going to take my brown yarn, my poo yarn, and I'm just going to pull it over, and I'm going to pull my brown yarn through the 3. You want to make sure it's tight. And once that happens too, I can go back with my orange yarn and I can pull it tighter, and same with my brown yarn. So now our brown yarn is in, right? This is also sometimes how people color change for like sweaters or like hats or anything really. A simple way to color change is just literally inserting the yarn. Okay, but now that we've done that, we're going to join with a slip stitch. Through the last one. And then what we are going to do is we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to single crochet in the second chain down. And then we're going to slip stitch in the first chain. And then we're just going to slip stitch into the next chain right here. Down. It kind of all makes sense when you look at it because you know where things would go in a pumpkin. So even if you're kind of eyeballing it and not directly listening to mommy, it's okay. Just kidding. I will take you out back and shoot you if you don't listen to me. Anyways, we're just gonna chain one, pull our yarn through. And I like to just, you see right here in the middle, I like to just poke my yarn through from the back, yarn over and pull the other yarn to the back, so then the front looks nice and clean.
Okay, it's been like 4 days. My sweater is finally air drying up, and I'm just arranging my pumpkins in a way that I like them. I made several. Okay, so I think I'm gonna do the straight line, but anyways, you can arrange them however you want them. Yeah, we're gonna be doing the straight line. So to sew them, again, I'm not gonna need that much string, and you guys already know, like, I taught you about sewing, so you're probably already pros, but I'm just going to weave it through the edge of the stitches until I like it. But I'm just gonna pull it through here, make sure it's lined up. And you also do not want to obviously sew it to the back panel. It's pretty easy to not do that, though, I will say. So you could also get like a fabric glue and go that route if you wanted to as well, because I have done that before, but I just figured with sewing it would go more fluid for this. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You just weave it through and then you tie it together and tie off your ends. And then you get your perfect little sweater.
This is so goofy.
I know, but